Right, good afternoon ladies and gentlemen, it's Antony Carpen here in central Cambridge. I'm here with Joe Dale, who is standing for election for the Cambridge Labour Party in the Newnham Division for the County Council election. So I'll just switch you over to Joe. Hello. And the questions I'm about to ask are on behalf of Newnham Residents Associations, so if I just go straight into them, Joe. Question number one is, if elected, what specific actions would you take to address the severe shortfall in funding for our primary schools, for example Newnham Croft Primary, and the impact of the collapse of the Uniting Care partnership resulting in a shortfall in funding for social care? So generally, how can local government get more money to pay for the services the community needs?
Okay, so one of the key things is we need to really not take a conservative view when it comes to council tax right now and the adult care precept. Labour has proposed increasing these to the maximum allowed this year. In the grand scheme of things, these are small increases that we're talking about to protect vital public services. We've seen the severity of the cuts that local government are faced with. On top of that, one of the things that county councils and district councils as well, obviously talking about county, can do is setting up wholly owned companies. That's something that in the local authority I worked for, we did, and we were generating revenue by providing services for other local authorities as well, and using that to cross-subsidise what we were doing. Councils are very hamstrung in terms of the actions that they can actually do. Central government is very precise about the things that county councils and district councils can do. That being the case, I think we have to do the maximum amount possible. And as I say, on tax, I think that means right now we need a raise, because otherwise these services are going to cease to function effectively. We're already seeing the effect in Adam Brooks, and I want to make sure we can do everything we can to mitigate that.
Okay. So moving swiftly on to the second question, which is really all about infrastructure and the city deal. The problem with some of the cycling infrastructure schemes that we've seen, particularly on Hills Road, it's being rolled out as a model through the city, but it has been criticised certainly in South Cambridge and Queen Edith's. So we've got things such as on-road cycle lanes, absence of good design and landscaping input, and a lack of genuine consultation in local areas. Given that more schemes are being planned on roads such as Madingley Road and Barton Road, how would you work with residents to achieve better outcomes in Newnham, and also looking specifically at dealing with, for example, the City Deals? What's your opinion on the City Deals Campbell to Cambridge busway proposals? And more generically, how would you propose dealing with the general issue of growth and transport in Cambridge given the current pollution and congestion levels? So if we take them one at a time, starting with the cycling schemes.
On cycling infrastructure, first of all, I don't think you need me to tell you, but Labour backs increased cycling infrastructure spending for obvious reasons. It's necessary. However, I think the point within the question, which actually has come up before in discussions I've had with residents about landscaping, is a crucial one. When we look at the way our roads and highways are going to be designed going forward, we need to take a holistic view, and that includes the landscaping, trees, and effective segregation between cyclists and pedestrians. In too many areas, I think we've seen it. There's a shift away from it now, but we've seen it in the past, where slapping a bit of paint down has been seen as creating a cycleway in what was a pavement, and we all know actually that leads to a lot of ill feeling and potential safety issues between pedestrians and cyclists. I'm a big believer in residents shaping their communities, rather than simply it being City Deal puts forward proposals, residents can react to those proposals, but ultimately the consultation is still being steered. I think residents have got to be in the core of that and shaping it, rather than simply being reactive.
Okay, and kind of with that in mind, with the proposals for the Camborne to Cambridge busways, which residents have been saying is kind of the opposite of that, what are your views on how that has progressed, and what would you do in terms of responding to the proposals from the City Deal on that busway?
Okay, well, I think first of all, any proposal for me has to meet 3 criteria. It has to have the minimal environmental impact, minimal impact on existing residents, negative impact that is, and actually it has to do what it sets out to achieve and provide mass transit from people who are going to be in the growing Camborne settlement into Cambridge. That being the case, I think at present I'm glad to see that option 6 was put back on the table. I think it's it's a tidal busway is a good innovative idea. It's been seen to work elsewhere, and so I think it's good that the city deal reacted in the way that it did. However, I think it's the fact it's taken such a forceful campaign for that to take place isn't positive. I mean, my discussions with Lewis and others, but for obvious reasons, especially Lewis, have been productive. And he is willing to listen. He's often in listening mode. However, clearly there are procedural factors that need to be taken into account so that residents actually feel like they're shaping the plan from the start, rather than simply being, like we say, consulted on afterwards, but with a sense that it's a fait accompli and it's already taken place.
And then finally, on issues of congestion and traffic pollution in Cambridge, given that recent surveys, in particular the City Deal consultation, have shown pollution is a growing issue.
Oh yeah, I mean the air pollution report released by the City Council in November said the equivalent of 48 deaths a year from pollution in central Cambridge. It was absolutely ridiculous at that point. I have been advocating really strongly for electric buses and more support from the City Deal on that. The City Council are doing a lot in terms of transfer to hybrid taxis and electric taxis. They got £500,000 grant from the central government to have rapid charging points, which is a really good first step on the taxis front. But on the buses front, we're going to be able to do a lot more now, collectively, thanks to the creation of the Peterborough and Cambridgeshire mayoral deal. The powers that they'll have over bus franchising will be able to achieve a lot more that we want to see from the reliability of bus services point of view. But in terms of pollution especially, actually, electric buses are something we can do right now. Volvo and other companies have got some really innovative solutions that I've looked into, as are others. But I mean, I really want to press upon that this is a solution that can work now. You can really start to tackle the problem from day one.
Okay. And final question is really all about you as an individual. So what are the main skills you believe are needed to be an effective councillor, and why do you want to do it? And then furthermore, how would you enable local residents in Newnham to engage in the decisions that you've mentioned, and specifically encouraging students and young people who seem to be conspicuous by their absence in the in the shaping of our city's future?
Yeah. In terms of why do I want to be a councillor and why do I think I can be an effective councillor, I have seen the effect that councillors can have on programmes from the perspective of an officer. We've, in the local authority I work for, we put forward housing solutions, and councillor input made a really big difference in shaping areas. Seeing that, I realised that this is, I've seen the impact you can make, and I want to make a difference. As I say, I'm researching planning, growth and regeneration. I'm looking at the development of cities.
Is that as a master's, PhD?
Currently as an MPhil, but I want to go on and do a PhD afterwards. And for those reasons, this is something that I do have expertise on, and I feel like I can bring something to the table and be an effective mouthpiece for residents. A lot of residents I've spoken to feel like they know what they want to say, but they don't quite know the avenues in which they have to go about it, or the technical language they sometimes need to use. I feel like I can act as that megaphone and hopefully really deliver the voice of residents to the City Deal and to the County Council in general. At the same time, I feel like having that expertise means that when people are often scared because they feel changes are taking place that they don't understand or don't know why they're being proposed, they can be explained, and then residents can feel that they can input back to me again. So it's very much a dialogue between the county council and residents, and I'll see my role as acting as the intermediary and doing the most effective job of letting the two organisations speak to each other.
Okay. I'm going to push you on that point with young people.
Yes,
You're going to get young people systematically engaging with the decision-making processes.
I think a lot of young people don't realise where decisions are being made. I know that sounds quite odd, but if you say to the average young person, what is the difference between the district council and the county council and what services do they provide, most people wouldn't be able to tell you. Well, a lot of young people were engaged on the streetlights issue that I spoke to, because of the effect that that would have had at night on them, but they didn't, other than marching, which was effective, they didn't really understand the stakeholders involved and where the power lay. I think having a regular forum between heads of MCRs and at Anglia Ruskin as well as young people outside the university system, being able to speak to their councillors regularly, having some sort of surgery that's well advertised and that people understand what it delivers would help. But it is definitely a challenge. I mean, I found that just from the campaign itself.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much.
No worries, thank you.